Welcome to the Daily. I am Vince Miller right here. We just study the Bible a few verses at a time, getting through a chapter a week in what we call Project 23. Today's shout out goes to Bobby McCalpine from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Thank you, Bobby, and your family for partnering with us in this project. Your courage to stand for truth is helping others do the same. Our text today is Mark chapter 6, verses 14 through 29. What a story. King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name had become known. Some said, John the Baptist has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him. But others said, he is Elijah. And others said, he is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has been raised. For it was Herod who had sent and seized John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because he had married her. Imagine a political leader marrying their brother's wife. That's never happened, has it? For John had been saying to Herod, it is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death, but she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he heard him gladly. But an opportunity came when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his nobles and military commanders and leading men of Galilee, a birthday party for himself. For when Herodias' daughter came in a dance, she pleased Herod and his guests, and the king said to the girl, ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. And he vowed to her, whatever you ask me, I will give it you up to half of my kingdom. And she went out and said to her mother, for what should I ask? And she immediately said, the head of John the Baptist. What a fascinating gift to give your mother on Mother's Day. What fascinating. And she came in immediately with haste to the king and asked, saying, I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And the king was exceedingly sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he did not want to break his word to her. And immediately the king sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. What a fascinating gift to give your mother. Just absolutely fascinating. Now, the story, I would have to say this, is very disturbing. John the Baptist is executed, not for a crime, but for telling the truth. He called out King Herod's sin, and it cost him everything. Everything. But John didn't flinch. He didn't soften the truth. He didn't adjust the message to protect himself. He spoke with clarity, conviction, and courage directly about the king's lack of integrity. John wouldn't trade conviction for approval. Conviction for approval. Herod, on the other hand, did. He liked listening to John. We know that. The text says that. He respected him. We know that. He knew John was holy. But Herod was more concerned about his image than his soul and doing what was right. So when the moment came, when the crowd was watching and the pressure was on, Herod made the trade. Approval over conviction. Approval of the crowd over his conviction. Comfort over repentance. And John lost his life because of it. This isn't just ancient history, folks. It's a modern temptation. Today, people still trade conviction for approval. To protect a platform, maybe, to avoid awkward conversations, to keep a job, to hold on to relationships, to stay liked, etc., 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 right? But when we soften the message of Jesus to preserve our status, we don't just lose the truth, we lose our witness. The gospel isn't ours to edit, folks. It's ours to exalt with boldness and yet with love. Jesus said this in the New Testament, whoever is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him. Now, those are convicting words, are they not? But central words. When we trade conviction for approval, we stop pointing people to the one who can actually save them so that we can try to, in some strange way, save ourselves. So here's the question. Where are you tempted to soften, to silence, to sidestep the truth, to protect yourself and preserve yourself? And what would it look like to follow John's example instead? It could maybe cost you your head. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.